Alright guys, welcome to my channel. Alright, so in today's update, we're going to show you too many, let me say, multiple updates with regards to Simon Ekpa and then also with the Chief of Defense Staff, Nigeria. Okay, so I'm going to update you on this stuff. But there on the screen, Ngozi Orebeze wrote something saying, breaking news. He said, the dragon is coming. He said, hello madam. So this is an updated message. He said, hello madam. It is impossible according to Finland's law to extradite its own citizen and release him to Nigeria. Okay, so why am I reading this to you? There were too many demands from the Nigerian government that Simon Ekpa should be extradited to Nigeria. Okay, this is a recent demand, and I'm going to update you on how the conversation is actually going. But we have a lot of information here that we're going to be reading through, and that also has to do with Simon Ekpa suspending the salaries of the Biafran Defense Forces and too many other information. But before that, now let's continue with this information. All right, there is no bilateral contract existing between between Finland and Nigeria concerning releasing suspect of crime from Finland to Nigeria or vice versa. Okay, so there is nothing of such. Okay, so let's just continue reading. These rumors and gossips are being spread here too. Assuming fact, amusing fact is that Finland has has not received any official request from Nigerian government whatsoever. Nothing of that kind. Okay, and for now, what we know is that the crime Simon is suspected of, in brackets, open and close, aggravating publicly is mildly sanctioned. It is not like severe crime. For now, we do not know if police can put together something more in the pre-trial investigation, okay? Now, all and all, there is no way Nigerian government can get their hands into Simon's court process, Finland. Okay, so all that you're seeing over here is actually clear evidence that no matter what these individuals try to do to get Simon Ekpa back to Nigeria, it will never and it will never work. That's just it. Let's go over to the next update. All right, so the next update is Simon Ekpa suspends the salary of the Biafran Liberation Army. And I'm going to give you a little clue about that, but we're going to read a little longer and then we go into Christopher Musa's updates. All right, so let's get into the video. All right, so what you're seeing on the screen here, there were too many reasons why actually Simon Ekpa cancelled the salary for men on the ground, and I'm going to show you through. As you can see it on the screen also, you are going to get more clues and information about what's going on. Why did Simon Ekpa cancel the salary to men on the ground but approve stipend? IC Rose and Biafran Defense Force sign agreement on this with Simon Ekpa because paying men on the ground salary is the easiest way for you to track and eliminate our men. Prime Minister Simon Ekpa agrees with us that the moment Biafra is fully reinstalled and start functioning and also well recognized, fully liberated, then the name Biafran Liberation Army will cease to exist. Everyone carrying arms will drop Liberation Armed and transit to full Biafran Army. Then we shall open the window and school armed by BNAC, Biafran Nation Army Command. From there, the successful candidates will be inaugurated according to the Biafran law. And every personnel will now be under Biafran government. Their salaries will be paid also. We will create life insurance for everyone serving in Biafran Army. I swear it baffles me that a mischievous and lunatics will come in and rob men and women in the fall of Biafran. Their sense of reason. Ngozi Arabese has been showing these morons red flags from inception. Still, they are so daft to comprehend. That's why I call them all foolish majorities. Simon Ekpa is so smart that's why I will never stop loving him. Ekpa knows that Nigerian operates a kind of banking system where you attached BVN to your account. Why is Musa crying on how to know the means Prime Minister gets fund across the Biafran Defense Force? How they used their own girls to extract all informations. So in guerrilla warfare, you are paying salary. Through BVN, you are gone. Shame to all those falling for Fulani script through Ngozi Arabese. Shame to all of you. If not that God Almighty sent me to this war, I would have went back to my base. All right, so this is one of the updates that is trading as of today. Nigerian Chief of Staff Christopher Musa was invited to Al Jazeera for an interview and some questioning. And I'm going to play the video for you to see that this is a clear evidence that Christopher Musa is actually aware of what is happening in Nigeria with the Boko Haram and some other terrorist groups in Nigeria, but he tried defending the integrity of the country. This young man, he actually knows and is aware of all the evils that has been happening in Nigeria, but he tried defending the country. I'm going to let you guys watch this video for yourself, and we shall be right back.
Why is it that Nigeria, they went to other countries, they fought for peace, but in their country for 10 years, they could not defeat Boko Haram, they could not defeat ISWAP, and everything is turning upside down? Anyway, let's go into the interview.
The Nigerian military has been collectively fighting both Boko Haram and the West African branch of ISIL for collectively now 15 years, in which time something like 15 million people have been affected by the insurgency and by the counter-insurgency. The government has claimed several times that the group has been, quote, technically defeated, yet they continue to operate, yet they continue to regroup. Do you see this as a failure of the politicians or a failure of the military, of which you are the head?
Not at all. I think it just shows how complicated asymmetric warfare is. It's not a one-off thing, unlike conventional warfare. So how do you measure success? You measure success when you start getting life back, IDPs returning back to camps, schools are reopening, markets are working, people can work. I think that's success for us. So it's work in progress. We're not where we are, but we're heading there, and we're sure that we're on the right track.
How would you explain the current state of the counterinsurgency if you were to give us a situation report of where we are in terms of the direction of the fighting so far?
Yeah, well, since inception, it's been in and out because of the challenges of asymmetric warfare. You know, the armed forces of Nigeria has always been a conventional armed forces. So fighting asymmetric came in as a surprise, as all armies. But we have woken up to the responsibilities, ensuring that asymmetric warfare needs all of society approach. It's not only military. It is having to do with the kinetic and the non-kinetic working hand in hand to ensure that we succeed. And that's where we're going. So where we are now, we're a lot better than we used to be. Last year when we took over, this year, a lot of improvement. A lot of work still going on, and we'll continue to do that.
You say you've woken up to the challenges, woken up, but it's taken 15 years to wake up. Why so long?
Like I said, asymmetric warfare is the difficult kind of warfare. I think our advice to any country, don't allow it to start. It's difficult to eradicate because you're dealing with people that have a sense of belonging, believing what they're doing is right, ideology. You don't see it on their foreheads. You don't know who they are. And they're just like normal human beings. And because you have to respect human rights, you have to take up the laws of war, it makes it a bit more difficult because identifying who the enemy is unlike the conventional type. You see him, he's wearing a kind of, these ones are not. And they are your own people from within. We've been in Liberia, we've been in Sierra Leone, we've fought other countries, we've restored peace. And so it's always a surprise that we're still having it, but it shows you the difficulty. Most times when we have issues, when to strike, they are embedded with civilians. So we have to call off the strike.
Well, I want to ask you about that because you say what's made this challenging is that you have to stick to the laws of war. I want to question you on some of the ways in which this counterinsurgency has been fought, including accusations made by Human Rights Watch that says the Nigerian Air Force carried out what they describe as erroneous airstrikes on targets in Kaduna State, that's in the north of Nigeria, this September, killing 24 people, injuring many more. It follows what they say is an apparent catalogue of mishaps that have killed hundreds of civilians since 2017, including a strike on a religious celebration in Kaduna State that killed 85. Firstly, how do you explain these allegations of what appear, at least to Human Rights Watch, to be devastating failures on behalf of the Air Force?
Well, I know that we all understand that we're human beings. We're bound to make mistakes, and they're just professional mistakes. Some things are beyond your control. We don't control the weather. We don't control the atmosphere. So even when you have it right, mistakes do come in. And when it happens, we take responsibilities and we make amends. Fighting a warfare for over 15 years and making how many? Human lives are lost. We're really very sorry about that. But then the war goes on and we have to stop because if you look at it, we're not the only ones. Not blaming anyone, but any country that is fighting a prolonged war, there are bound to be mistakes, but they are never deliberate, and we'll take ownership and we'll take correction. So that's what we're doing.
What about justice, accountability, compensation?
All correct. We have standing court martials for people who have committed offenses, and then we make amends for the communities. Like the Tudunbiri community that had issues, the government stepped in. A lot of incentives have been put in place, measures have been put in place. We have also enhanced our training. We have suspended the commanders that were on ground. We've taken them responsibility for what they have done. And so the work is ongoing.
Are all operational protocols being fulfilled
fully? Nigerian Armed Forces is a professional armed forces. We can attest to that everywhere we went to. We have done so well in other countries. We're doing the same thing in Nigeria.
You've described what sounds almost like something resembling a purge of inadequate elements within the Nigerian armed forces. Has a purge gone? Has a purge been underway in recent years?
Not purge per se. What we do is that whoever commits an offense faces the law, is being prosecuted. He will be investigated. If found culpable, he faces the law. We have standing court martials in all our divisions. You do well, you are rewarded, and then you do badly, you face the law.
So you're losing people, but what about recruitment? Are people attracted to the Nigerian armed forces? Are you able to fill battalions and ranks of soldiers?
Yes, we're doing. Presently, as we speak, I was at Depot, Nigerian Army, where we train recruits. We just graduated about 5,800. For the officers corps at the Nigerian Defense Academy, we just graduated almost 800 officers, young officers, back into the system. So it's ongoing, and yearly we have people going on retirement when it's their time to leave. So the armed forces is working well. We continue. Where we have a lot of challenges because we don't produce the equipment that we use. And sometimes it's been a bit difficult getting equipment, even when we have the money.
We'll talk about procurement in a minute, but I'm curious about something that you said a little bit earlier in our interview, that amongst many of the challenges are the fact that the enemy is embedded within communities.
Correct.
And they look like us, which leads to all sorts of complications when it comes to successfully mounting this counterinsurgency. Yeah. But according to some sources, abuses have been carried out by the military. Let me draw attention to the long list of allegations that have overshadowed your battle with Boko Haram and ISIL in West Africa. Many of those allegations were raised by Amnesty International that say at least 10,000 people, including children, have died in military detention, many of them innocent civilians who were fleeing Boko Haram, hoping for safety and security in the hands of the military, but instead experience alleged brutality at the hands of your forces. Did your military abuse Boko Haram survivors?
Not at all. It's not in our character. We don't do such. It's not in our DNA to do such a thing. And, I've had this allegation severally. It's just a reminder. I was a theater commander in the Northeast I left there January 2023. There was this allegation by Reuters that on abortions. Initially, they said 13,000. Later on, they said 10,000. And I requested, then the Chief of Defense Staff, General Irabo, I requested that we invite Human Rights Committee to set up an independent investigating committee to investigate that allegation, because we're tired of these allegations. I mean, they come in, and the funny thing is that they always come in when we are succeeding. So the question is why? What is the intent? So he got to human rights, an investigative team was commissioned. I testified with so many other officers. They were given unfettered freedom to go around. They investigated for 1 year, 6 months. I think just last month, they released the report. And guess what? Nothing of such, because we told them that whatever allegation anybody is saying about abortion, it's not us. Maybe it's another country they're thinking about, not Nigeria. And so they came out. But the funny thing is that when they were reading the reports out, these other organizations refused to even show up.
Just to remind our viewers, you're talking about the allegations.
The allegation for the
Reuters news.
That was about 3 weeks ago. And then suddenly last week, Amnesty came out with 10,000. So I don't know what the joy is about 10,000 issues.
Okay.
It is not in our character. We don't do such. We will never, ever do such a thing.
Understood. So you would allow Al Jazeera journalists, international
Unfettered
investigators into, for instance, the Giwa barracks in the northeastern city of Maiduguri that has been allegedly holding children as young as 5 in hot, cramped conditions, not to mention allegations of beating, the sexual abuse of women and girls, where innocent civilians were meant to be in your care, treated this way. I mean, that's the big question Amnesty International raises. And they're prepared, sorry to interrupt, they're prepared to take you to the International Court of Justice to defend their views. Would you testify there?
We're ready to go. We're not scared of anybody. And I can tell you, they have their own intent on why they are doing that. I think they just want to demoralize my troops. They want us to look bad, because I just can't understand why anybody will wake up and say that we're killing people when we're actually not doing the same. And guess what? Where the Giwa barracks you were talking about, we have all the humanitarian agencies working there. You have the UN working, local and international organizations are working. Are we saying they are complicit? So if they don't say it, which means Amnesty International is equal, and Amnesty is equally there, so which means they're equally accusing all these other organizations of being complicit.
So just to be clear, you would be prepared to go to the ICJ in The Hague and answer these accusations?
We're not scared of anything, because we don't have anything of such.
I want to address allegations also of corruption in the defense sector, because Transparency International says corruption has resulted in the wasting of billions of dollars worth of public funds through corrupt defense procurement. You said yourself, procurement's an issue for the Nigerian military. Is the Nigerian armed forces corrupt?
We are not. We're just a few good guys trying to do some job, but seems some people are just hell-bent on making sure that we don't succeed. We don't produce the equipment we need. It takes two to tangle. So if they're saying there's corruption, which means those producing the equipment are equally corrupt, because it takes somebody to give and somebody to collect. So which means those ones having these weapons are equally guilty. We don't do such. We have a procurement procedure which is being followed. And to also state that even with our monies at times, we find it difficult getting equipment. And the question is why? One of the reasons why this insurgency has been for this long is because we have been denied access to equipment. Even when we have our monies to get to, it's difficult.
Why have you been denied access to equipment?
Well, I really don't understand. It's a question that we keep on asking, why are we being denied?
So this is a political decision you're suggesting?
Political decision.
I mentioned corruption because instead of being used for legitimate purchases, this is the words of a court in Jersey, and for international viewers, that is a British offshore tax haven, recently processed a case suggesting that as much as $8.9 million of funds were moved out of Nigeria into a bank account in this offshore haven of Jersey, funds that, according to the verdict of court in Jersey in January, were, quote, illicitly obtained by Nigerian officials back in 2014. I appreciate that is some time ago, but I'll ask you again, does the Nigerian Armed Forces have an issue with corruption? Because according to this court verdict, it does.
Well, 2014. This is 2024. I'm the Chief of Defense Staff now. We don't have such allegations. If they have the facts, I'm sure they will be able to bring out who are those. I mean, anything you travel electronically is captured, so it's not anything hidden. If they have those facts, bring it out. But you see, what we don't want is somebody sitting down somewhere and just assuming that things are happening when they are not. And that's one of the reasons why I came here, and I had the privilege of being here with Al Jazeera, and I want to say a big thank you. It's an opportunity to also present our countries. That place, people should understand that we're fighting a war. We need everybody to put hands together. Let us succeed. And the asymmetric warfare we're dealing with is not only to Nigeria alone. West Africa, the Sahelian area, and in fact, if actions are not taken, it's going to engulf the entire world.